Hi, everyone. We're back.
Woo!
And it's season 2. Welcome to season 2 of Arts for the Health of It. We made it.
We made it.
This is me clapping.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, this is Richard Wilmore, your host.
Oh, yes.
And
And
I'm
this is
Constanza
Constanza
Rader.
Roeder. Oh, right this way. She's this way. Yes.
It's great to be back. We had we planned to have a little break between season. Well, actually, we didn't plan to have a break between season 1 and season 2. We did 51 episodes. We had 52 planned, and then something happened.
And my body said, "No, you need a break,
Yeah.
sir." Yes, and I ended up in the hospital for 16 days.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't very excited about that.
No, and
none as not excited as you.
No, I don't even know what was worse. Why I was in there.
Yeah.
Or the fact that they lost their Wi-Fi the night I got there and it came back, I think the day I left or the day before I left. So no, I had no access to like the internet and the outside world for 60 days, which was sort of nice, really. Or there was a third and I can't remember because now I have like chemo brain kind of. I didn't have chemo, but I forget everything in the middle of a sentence. What were we even talking about? This should be a really good interview.
This should be great. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
Well,
the third is that there was a lack of arts and health in the hospital. And so.
Yes. Richard happened to end up in a hospital that we don't serve here in San Antonio yet. And so there's no one to come and sing to you and do art with you, Richard. I mean, our team came and did those things.
This is true. I was lucky and I had a lot of visitors who came to make sure I was okay. And waste my time is really what was happening. They were just wasting time, their lunch hours. But I just sat there and the first thing when they said you have to go into the hospital and I knew what hospital it was, I was like, I don't get to I want my window painted. Like that was the first thing that popped into my head is I don't get my window painted. But of course, Hearts Need Art pulled on up day 2, I think. First day I was there, the second day I was there. And
yes, we did.
And we did. I have a picture of it. This is the window that Catherine did for me. So I ended up, if you don't know, and a lot of you don't, I ended up with a weird fungal infection.
In your blood. A lot of people think fungus and they think toes. This is not one of those.
No, this actually made its way into my hand.
Into the bone in his hand.
The bone, yes. And also, I just saw this today. I just went to the doctor today for a follow-up.
On your arm?
I looked at it today.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to show that picture. I did take a picture, but I won't show it. And then I also have this. So it started on my arm. I thought it was something to do with my COVID booster, really. And then it just spread down to my leg, down to my chest, and then kind of settled in my hand. And I lost a knuckle during the surgery because the fungus had eaten it. So we start physical therapy soon. It's been a wild couple of weeks.
How many surgeries have you had the last couple of weeks?
I had 2 while I was in there. 2.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Want to give a big thank you to all of our guests that we had scheduled that were willing to be flexible with their dates and reschedule them while Richard got better. It was a scary time, honestly. We were pretty concerned with you. They kept saying, we don't know what's going on. And we're like, that's not what you want to hear when you're sick in the hospital.
Yes. And everywhere I went in the hospital and people were actually coming into my room, I heard all about you. We've been talking at the end I should have been like, oh, did you listen to Arts for the Health of It? Is that how you know of me? But I was like they no one knew what to do with me in there. No one knew what was going on.
They were all trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was very scary for a very long time. I've never been in the hospital before for anything, so it was insane to me.
So my question for you, Richard, is there anything about that experience that shifts your perspective about what we do with the arts in the hospital, either from the perspective of a patient or, since you did have that perspective as a patient?
It gave me insight into how unrestful you are in the hospital. Like when I don't know, you think people are in there just sleeping all the time because they're sick, but there were people would come in my room starting at 3:30 or 4 in the morning, and it wouldn't end until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so it's just like eventually you get so sick of people talking to you and touching you, where there was a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe people even say yes to us. Like, it's one more thing. Like, if I could have just said no to something, and we talk about that all the time in training all of our artists, of the power of no, and how not to take that personally. And that's what I thought of, was like, I don't know if I would say yes to us. And I wasn't even going through something that was, awful. Like, if I wasn't hooked up, I mean, it was, but like I could get up every day, most of the day. I was hooked up to IVs maybe 4 hours a day. And the rest of that time I was free to walk around. I felt good. There was never a day that I didn't feel good. So in that respect, I feel really lucky that I was able to do that. But I still was so sick of people. And they were all like, the staff there was amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better staff, but I was still so sick of them talking to me. And like, we've had that, I think, when my dad was on, talking about people, like making fun of you or making jokes about what happened. Like, eventually I was like, oh my God, like, how serious is that the entire hospital is talking about me? And they're just coming in here like, everything's okay, you're good, take this, like, it kind of scared me of like, maybe they're really trying to figure it out and hiding something from me. But it's under control, and I'm on antibiotics for a year. But even that, like, I can take a pill once a day. Well, it's 4 times a day, but like, it could be worse. I could have a PICC line, and I could be in the hospital for that amount of time.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that I got out as unscathed as I did. So,
well, we're really glad you're home, and we're excited that we're to be back talking with some more people about the power of arts for our health. And so thank you for coming back and jumping back in.
Thanks for having me back. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Please.
That how amazing having a musician in residence would be for hospitals, because this is an example of how they curate it to what you would listen to, because this is Marisa singing something to me. So that's not a song she gets requested a lot, but only when
Richard, that he loves Madonna.
Yes.
so she learned that song for him.
It's so true. Yeah.
Oh, that was really sweet. It was cool to be able to serve you, to like come and serve you in that way. But sad too. We wanted you to be better.
Yeah. Well, I'll get there.
We're glad you're on the mend.
I'm coming back.
Well, shall we talk about our guest today?
Yes, because this is really cool.
I know. I'm really excited to talk today with Jeremiah Stemple. Heroes for Causes is his company that he's the co-creator of, and they use comic books to help encourage people dealing with chronic illness. And that's all I'll say about it. He has the most incredible story, and it's just so cool. I love it.
Yes. So I don't want to waste any more time, because I think it's so, I don't even know how I came across him, but I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love the idea. So we're going to take a quick little break, I guess, to tell you more about Hearts Need Art, and then, Arts for the Health of It, and then we'll be back with Jeremiah.
Yep.
Come along with me, and I know you'll see that a song changes everything.
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Well, welcome to Arts for the Health of It.
Glad to be here.
We're very glad you joined us. So you're one of the co-founders of this organization, correct?
Correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about what y'all do and why you started this organization?
Well, basically.
Oh,
we lost him. Hold on. Start over, Jeremiah.
Completely my fault.
We make original superhero comic books, like this one, based on different like childhood illnesses and things like that, as a way to try to not only educate people about them, but show the world how strong these kids actually are. As far as why we did it is because I actually have cystic fibrosis myself. So that's why we did that as the first book. And like I said, it's just, I've always loved comic books, but there were no heroes I could actually look at and see myself in because, they're all superhuman and I spent my entire childhood in the hospital. So we wanted to give kids, superheroes they could actually look at and identify with.
That's, I just love this concept so much. Can you tell us a little bit about that first superhero? Because that kind of is where this all started, right?
Yeah. The first one, originally it started just as a cosplay I was going to do and like just to wear to hand out information about CF. And when I went to look for an artist to help me just kind of draw it up, Joseph and Donovan, the other two co-founders, thought it would be, sounded like it would be good to do a whole comic book. And we just kind of went from there. We actually met on a Facebook comic book creators page. I've only actually met Joseph like twice. I've never met Donovan in person.
Wow.
And we're working on our third book now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Were you a creative kid or young adult? Or was this just something like you were obviously into comic books like you said, but you were also an artist?
I do more of abstract type art, but I do write a lot as well. Like I write stories, I write a lot of poetry, things like that. So the art is not my strong suit, unfortunately. That's Donovan.
It's nice to have partners. It's always fun when you can collaborate with someone to make something come alive, right?
Yeah. We got a team of I think 8 of us. There's 3 main people that run it, and then we hire additional artists as we need them for each book. So.
And how many books are you up to?
We're working on our 3rd one right now, which is for type 1 diabetes.
So what are the other? So you have cystic fibrosis, and what's the other one?
Pediatric brain cancer.
Okay, and then diabetes is your 3rd one. What are the names of these superheroes, and can you tell us a little about them and their stories?
This is the cystic fibrosis pathway. That's actually me.
Oh, cool.
That's the actual costume I wear when I visit kids in the hospitals and everything. But that one is, it's about cystic fibrosis. He's, a doctor who's trying to do what he can do, find a cure. And our bad guy, a lot of what we do with the bad guys is actually when the kids describe their different struggles to us, we work those into the bad guy. So like with Pathway, cystic fibrosis is primarily a lung disease. So our bad guy, like as you see here, right here, this little mantle of his is all cigarette leaves. His bomb case is a cigarette box. He uses a lot of like smoke and explosives because it's all air pollution.
Is that this sketch?
Yes, that's the same costume.
Yeah, I love can you talk a little bit about this? Like the detail that you go into to have you were talking about before, like specific parts of their armor, or I love the way you actually craft these characters.
So with this particular hero, as you can see, the shield there is the ribbon, because we tried to work the cause ribbons into all of them, which for CF is that deep purple. And you can also see it a little bit in the lit up part of his chest there. The mask is because, even before COVID and all that, we wore masks constantly to protect us from air pollution, things like that. So, I've been wearing mine for close to 11 years now. So that was already worked in there. And if you notice, the end of his staff there is actually the cup for nebulizer for breathing treatments.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. That is so creative.
We try to work all those little details in there without the story sounding really preachy. It's more of, when you read it, it's like a 90s Spider-Man where it's kind of at that fun feel, but there's still the action. And then with the educational, it's a little on the subtle side until you get to the end. We do a big, long editorial page explaining everything we touched on and why it's important and everything like that.
Oh, that's so smart. How do people respond, or how do specifically kids with CF respond to Pathway?
Oh, they love it. So far I've gotten, like I said, I'm in Florida. And so far, the farthest away I've gotten was a 6-year-old girl in the UK sent me a video message about how much her and her brother loved it when they got theirs for Christmas.
Oh, that's so cool.
What does that feel like to receive stuff like that?
It feels like all the work is worth it.
Yeah.
Like I said, we do hire the artists, the core team. We don't get paid at all. Like we do this all for charity. So the payoff for us is seeing these kids and their responses.
That's awesome. What a gift to be able to give something to a kid that that you wish you had. That's does that feel like a kind of a full circle moment for you each time that happens?
Oh, absolutely. Like the kid we did the second one off of, this one here, the center ice one, he's only 15. He's had brain cancer 4 times. And ABC News here in Tampa just did a whole story on him, and then we're talking about us like the last third of the story, because he does a lot of stuff with like the Tampa Bay Lightning and all them.
So you base that next one off of a real kid that's dealt with brain cancer.
All of ours are based off real people.
That's awesome. That's
like
so
the one we're
cool.
doing now, the type 1 diabetes, is actually a brother and sister team that are real kids in Colorado.
And it sounds like they're pretty involved in the development process about sharing kind of their experience of the disease. And so I'm curious with the brain cancer, what's the bad guy for that one?
Well, when the kid we based off of, his name is Weston. And one of the things he told us is all the cancer treatments are like really old, like from the 60s. So we have this really old guy who builds like robots out of recycled parts that nobody uses anymore. And that's what he uses to build the bad guy goalie to attack him.
Oh, wow. So creative. I can't get over it.
I know. I want to know like how you're story writing all of these. Like what's the process for writing these and who's involved in that? Because it sounds so, are they people just writers? Are they people are you working with the people they're based off of?
The general process is we take myself, Joseph, and Donovan, which like I said are the 3 main people. We find a charity that wants to work with us, and we work with them to make sure that their voice comes across and we're not going against their goals. And then they help us find a patient that they associate with, so that we can get that patient's actual story in their own words, so that we make sure that we want the patient's voice to be the one that's coming across overall. We also make sure that we have the medical side correct, as well as then the storytelling. But the kids, like they get to give us information on if they were a superhero, what powers would they want. We try to work that in. We work their favorite colors into the costumes. We try to work their hobbies in, things like that.
How do those partner organizations respond to the characters and to the work, and how have they used them in other ways to?
Our first partner, unfortunately, did not use it because we finished the book right before COVID happened. And then unfortunately with COVID, they barely hung on as an organization, so they haven't been able to do a lot. But with American Cancer Society, which we did for the cancer one, they have our book in all 60-something of their retail stores across the country. They've been using it on stuff with the NHL, giving it out in gift baskets that they do for kids, things like that. So I mean, they've gone above and beyond. And then with the new one for diabetes, we're actually planning on printing it both in English and Spanish, and we'll be sending it out to not only all the kids here, but to some Spanish-speaking countries as well.
This is so cool, and it has so much. I see so many possibilities for it. Like, what a cool way to train. I'm thinking even for training medical staff that are working with those patient populations, to give them a glimpse of that patient experience in a completely graphic novel way. And I feel like as a healthcare provider, that would be a fun break from just kind of the black and white text. And
in the pathway one of my real life nurses is even in the book.
Really? What did she think about that?
I asked her if I could put her in there, and she said, only if you make me look grumpy like I really am. This is actually my real life nurse, Sue, right here.
Oh, that's so cool.
Her name is Sue Roberson. She's one of the transplant nurses here in Tampa. And like she's fought for me tooth and nail when I've had to deal with like insurance companies and everything else. So I wanted to make sure I included her to show her how much she meant to us.
Oh,
that's so special.
What is the age range for the books?
We keep them entirely family friendly, like literally anybody. Like literally anybody could read them. We try not to use like real big technical words, so that we try to keep it where literally anybody who can read can enjoy it. It's funny that's the picture you showed though, because
that's on your shirt.
I have a couple others too.
I just see them.
Because this is done so professionally. Like I'm beyond impressed at like how these are turning out. Like.
Well, I mean, while I am making comic books myself, like the Pathway one was my first one ever doing it, but Joseph and Donovan both been working in comic books for over 10 years. Like Joseph, who mainly does the writing, he's been published by Image and Scout and a few others.
Wow. This is so cool.
I know.
That's the one we based off Weston, the cancer kid. That's his real life like hockey jersey too. He actually wears number 22 when he plays hockey. Which is why he gets the hockey powers, and that's like the colors and everything is his real jersey colors and number.
Wow.
Why do you think it's important or impactful to see for these kids to see themselves reflected in a superhero?
Well, anybody who's especially chronically ill, but anybody who's been sick a lot can tell you the worst part of it is the feeling alone. When you don't even have fictional characters you can relate to, it hurts that even more. So this is our way of showing them, we can have fictional characters that relate to you, as well as like in the end of each book of the new books, Pathway actually shows up, which is me, at the end of each one, welcoming them into the team and telling them how, even if they didn't beat the bad guy, they did their best, and that's all anyone can ask. So, I'm showing up not only in real life for these kids, but in the book as well, encouraging them and telling them just to, even like one of the things I tell them is even just getting out of bed some days, if that's all you could do, mission accomplished. Like if you did what you could, nobody should ever ask more than that of you.
That's so powerful.
What have you learned since starting Heroes for Causes?
Well, I mean, about the comic book process in general, I learned how expensive they are to make. How long it takes. It was way more than I thought it was going to be. So luckily we've got the awesome partners that are helping out with that part. So, but also just as like any of the like new disease, like I didn't know much about pediatric brain cancer. Like I learned a lot about that. I mean, I am diabetic, but I'm not a type 1. So there's a lot of things about that. I'm learning the difference between mine and type 1s. Like I'm learning as much as the readers are going to while doing this. And, what I want is people to, learn that what these kids go through, as well as and see them, stop seeing them as, hey, that sick kid, and start seeing them as the warriors they really are.
So good. What's your dream? What's your goal for the company?
Honestly, like, I mean, it's probably never going to happen, but my ultimate dream would be for us to be funded enough that we could hit every childhood disease ever. But right now, like I said, we just have to work with what charities we can find to partner with us. So we give like all the proceeds, like they help with the production cost, and then every single dime we raise from them goes right back to them. Like we don't keep anything.
How do people who are interested in working with you and learning more and supporting you get a hold of you?
They can either contact us through our website, which there's an email function on there. They can also get a hold of me through any of our social medias.
Okay.
I pretty much answer all of them all the time. So
just at Heroes for Causes.
It's most of them are either at Heroes for Causes or at Pathway CF Superhero.
Oh, at Pathway CF Superhero. All right.
Joseph runs the Heroes for Causes ones. I run the Pathway ones. Because originally we started with just Pathway, and that's why I was putting the name on everything. Because we didn't want to, go like reach too far in case it didn't go anywhere.
Whoops.
Which is also why we based the first one off me, was just in case it didn't go anywhere. We didn't want to get some good hopes up.
Oh, I see. Well, you showed proof of concept, and here you are on your third superhero. And this is so cool. My brain is like just lighting up with all the possibilities for this.
Right now we're mainly covering medical ones. Eventually, we would actually like to cover, maybe some social things and everything like that. And one of the things that we've actually agreed on as a company that it hasn't happened yet, but one of the things we've agreed on is should we ever do, a Black superhero, Spanish superhero, something like that, we will hire an artist that is that same type of person to make sure that, that it is as accurate as possible, that there's no accidental characters, nothing like that done.
Yeah.
We want to make sure, we're always trying to make sure it's the correct people's voices coming across.
I think that's what's so powerful about what you're doing is it's a really kind of profound level of representation in a medium where kids dealing with illness don't see themselves, like you said. I think that's one of the superpowers we have as artists is to help people feel less alone and show them that, hey, someone else has dealt with what you're dealing with. And they're winning each day in whatever way that they can.
Exactly.
It's powerful.
What is next? What are y'all working on now?
We're doing the type 1 diabetes one right now with Children's Diabetic Foundation out of Colorado. And we're also working with a couple of wrestlers from AEW on that one.
Ooh, interesting.
Spoiler alert.
Any spoilers you want to share about what this is going to look like?
As far as the wrestler, he's not anybody you know yet, unless you are big into like the not quite AEW pro wrestler circuits. But he will be debuting with AEW the 3rd of July, I believe. His name is Raven Skylar. He's a type 1 diabetic luchador whose whole aesthetic is tarot cards and purple and golds.
Oh, wow. What a great subject for a superhero to base that off of. Very cool.
Do you sometimes just sort of pinch yourself oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life now?
I do. And then there's also other times where, especially in between causes where it feels like I can't find a new partner, or I feel like I'm not getting traction. Sometimes it feels, I always start to doubt myself, well, am I doing a good thing? And then I get some kid, who got a book and reminds me I am doing a good thing. So
yeah,
it's definitely, that fluctuation of moods.
Yep. I feel that. Anytime you're creating anything new and significant, there's always going to be those pain points you have to push through.
I'll definitely tell you though, before I started doing all this, I was really, really, really bad, battling depression hard. Ended up in the hospital a couple of times because of bad decisions because of it. And then I started working on this, and now I'm off my depression meds. I haven't had bad days in a year and a half now. This has even just helped my mood enough that I'm not having to fight that hard for that depression anymore either. So it's good for everybody involved.
Yeah. You found that purpose and meaning and a creative outlet.
All rolled into one.
Okay.
What is the last creative thing you did for yourself?
The last creative thing I did for myself was my daughter is, you know what furries are?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My daughter is a furry, and she designed her own costume and everything when she was 8. She's 15 now. But I actually helped her get the helmet build for it. I did most of the work for her. But
Aww.
Yeah, so it was for her, but it was really a way of me spending time with her, so it was for me too.
Aww. Yeah. Good daddy.
Yeah, that's, I don't know if you actually see it, but hold on. No, you can't really see it. Sorry. So I've got a tattoo to my arm. Hold on.
Oh, that's so sweet.
There
wow. That's really cool.
That's a lot of ink.
Well, I also get each of our new heroes tattooed to my legs. So.
Oh wow. Okay. So
my right leg is just all going to be all of our heroes. That way, it's just another way of showing the kids, how into this I am for them. I'm there for them. I'm always going to be with them. They're always with me now. So.
That's awesome.
Well, if you need a superhero for fungal infections, the comic book on fungi.
I've been dealing with one of those myself lately, so.
Oh,
I have a thing in my hand that's they're thinking it is. It's some kind of weird fungal infection. So.
Craziness.
It looked at. Trust me.
Don't wait.
Don't be stupid and say I'm fine. Which I did.
No, they've got their medicines, and they did a biopsy earlier today just to double check. So.
Well, I
good.
hope you don't end up in the hospital like Richard.
Okay. But if you do, we'll send
If
an
I do,
artist
I
there.
do all the nursing in the hospital, so it's all good.
Oh, there
Okay,
you go.
great. Jeremiah, I am so excited that we get to talk to you and talk about this because I think it's so cool and it's such a great way of inclusion. And I applaud you for everything that you're doing.
Appreciate that.
Love it.
Go.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, yes. And go to Heroes for Causes. Their website, if you're watching live or you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, it's in the comments, and support them. Jeremiah, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Right, that's our show. Make sure you like and subscribe and follow and share it wherever you're watching or listening. And we will see you next week.
Yay!
I promise we'll be here for season 2. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Arts for the Health of It, a podcast produced by Hearts Need Art, creative support for patients and caregivers, in partnership with the National Organization for Arts and Health. You can help others learn about the healing power of the arts by subscribing, sharing, and reviewing the podcast wherever you listen or watch. The podcast is hosted by Richard Wilmore, co-hosted by Constanza Rader. Our theme song, Songbird, is written and performed by Natalie Lane. Visit heartsneedart.org to learn how you can support our mission to create joy with people facing life-altering health challenges. Join us next week to learn more ways you can create arts for the health of it. The views expressed on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Hearts Need Art, their staff, board members, or other affiliates. All content is created for informational purposes only. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice or to diagnose and treat any health condition. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health professional with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you heard on this podcast.